Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Eckert, the President and Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
All righty, there we are. How is everybody tonight?
Yee doggies.
We got the wee doggies, exactly right. Wee doggies. We need to get our wee doggies in there. Well, I'm sure we'll work in a kumbaya here, without further ado. But welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God. I'm your favorite anarchist preacher, the Reverend Glen Ganaway, and I'm usually here with the love of my life, the Reverend Yolanda. But I am here with Jacquelyn Eckert, who is the president of and minister of Awakening Together, and somebody who is a real teacher for me. So I'm honored to be here with Jacquelyn.
You know, sometimes when you say that in these circles, it's not a compliment. Boy, is she a teacher for me.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm trying to bring in the theme of the lesson tonight. You know?
I got it.
Oh, I know. I have teachers in my own life. I actually call people universities. You know, so when someone comes into my life and I have something to learn from them, if I learn it and I go away, I graduate. I complete the course. You know.
I love it.
But I hear that Boulder is getting about 2.5 feet of snow as we speak. Is that what's happening?
I don't know what we're supposed to get here. Shauna knows. Shauna, how much snow are we getting here?
Oh, well, here it's supposed to be only 6 to 8 inches last I looked. But
Only.
up north, like you say, in Boulder, it's 2 to 5 feet in Boulder.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're here.
Yeah. That's a lot of. It's coming to us on Tuesday. So we've just started. Jacquelyn, tell everybody where we are in the order of things. Tell everybody where we are and what we're doing.
Sure, I'd love to. We started with the clarification of terms, and we have just moved into the manual for teachers. Last week, we covered the introduction. Tonight, we'll be looking at the first section, who are God's teachers? In my book, it's 1.25 pages, so maybe we'll finish on time tonight.
Yeah, it's only 4 paragraphs. I mean, how much information can you put in 4 paragraphs?
That's right.
Well,
Plenty.
I could probably talk on the first paragraph alone for about an hour. Did you enjoy working with this week, Jacquelyn?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I really did. I think all roads lead to Rome, as they say. I don't think that anything's being said here that we didn't cover in the introduction. And you know, I just don't think that there's anything unusual here, but I haven't heard your take on it yet, so I may change my mind before the end of the program.
Well, she and I will love. I hope I say something interesting tonight. I hope I say something that maybe you haven't heard or say it in a new way for you. But this week has been really very good for me. There's, you know, this is like someone's a teacher for me, you know, or someone, you know, I'm a teacher. You know, but the last week was like the learner and the teacher. You know, you need to consider yourself in both of those positions. You know, you need to do it well. You need to be the learner, and you need to be willing to be taught, and you know, you need to be willing to stand by what you know is correct. And that kind of line is really very interesting. Walk in integrity for me that I actually kind of enjoy. So this idea about this, like, there's a manual, there's a teacher for everybody, or, you know, like there's a teacher for you and there's a teacher for me, and everybody's, you know, so learning. So for me, all week has been this listening thing. It's like, what are you teaching me? Like listening really well when someone's speaking to me. It's like, what are you telling me? What are you trying to communicate? You know, what is that about? And what are you teaching me of the world that you're looking at? Because I know what I think I want to try to prove what is true, but if I can speak to the reality that you're coming from, I'm much more likely to be effective, to be heard and understood. I'm not trying to change anybody, just to be heard and understood and get my message across. It's actually been really helpful because I spend a lot of time on, but I shouldn't admit this, but I like Twitter, you know, and I like so because it's very fast paced and a lot of opinions and a lot of people that know way more than I do. Their expertise is like off the tip. So being able to speak to somebody's worldview or listen to people as everyone else as a teacher has been kind of has helped me, has been humbling for me, because I'm usually less gracious. Yolanda's laughing. She's like, I'm usually, I can be less gracious of an instructor when it's on Twitter or Facebook or something like that, you know. So that's helpful to me this week.
Very good. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I do see that our caller has their hand up. Caller, would you like to take the mic?
Yes, thank you, Jacqueline. This is Kathy. Good evening, Glenn. I just wanted to ask a question, and this is relevant to what you just said, Glenn, and also from the introduction from last week as we move into who God's teachers are. Anyway, one of the things that was mentioned was that we're teaching. The course emphasizes that teaching is a constant process. This is from the last sentence in paragraph 1 of the introduction, and it goes on every moment of the day and continues into sleeping thoughts as well. So then the question comes up for me anyway, who's the teacher and who's the learner if there's nobody else there that we're engaging with? And thank you for the opportunity to ask that question. And I'm going to release
that, Jacqueline.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that we will get further into this tonight.
Good starting question, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. It's great. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There is only one thing going on here. So, so who are we teaching? Ourselves. You know, it's again, like we talked about last week, it's really about the spreading of the light in the one mind. So when I teach what I believe. And that's kind of that snowball effect, you know, so that I learn what I teach. And that's how I learn it, because, you know, giving it away teaches me. So if I give away, you know, sense of lack or victimhood or misery, guess what I'm going to get? But if I teach love, oneness, acceptance, patience, compassion, guess what I'm going to get?
Mhm.
So we really, we can really look at that on those two different levels, right? What am I teaching that I will experience here, and what overall is being taught? Again, it's the awakening of the one mind.
Beautiful, the awakening of the one mind. I like the Course in Miracles because it's all about process. She doesn't tell you really how to do this. And in fact, we'll get into this in the first place. She's talking about how many different ways there are to like be awake or whatever, like be yourself or like be this person. So to me, when the Course is talking about a combination of learning and teacher situation, or there's both of those things are combined with the notion that there's only one thing happening here, that's not how I experience it. I'm a human being in a fleshy thing, and I have problems. You know, there are people who don't act right around me that need to be, you know, taken care of. You know, they need to be schooled and taught about what is going on, especially these people who continue to park on the sidewalk. You know, but anyway, as I don't want to digress, but I need, because sometimes I'm inhabiting that teacher, you know, and sometimes I'm inhabiting the learner. And see, that knowledge that what these feelings are for is the teacher function. And the learning function is actually acquiring the lesson that those things are for. Mm-hmm. So it's like knowing what this world is, and knowing why this world exists, knowing, you know, what the world is for. We talked about that, you know, in the mind spirit. We talked about that like last night, like what's this for? It's to teach us that the laws of God work. And I don't think they work, because I wouldn't suffer at all if I was working with the laws of, totally working with the laws of God, or the gods of laws. I don't know. I wouldn't suffer. So the learner, the speaking, how can that happen when there's one? She's obviously talking to the part of me that doesn't know that. You know, she's talking to me, the part that's walking around as a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 5-dimensional person, whatever it is, in the world, and learning to do this in a material existence. I think that's valuable. Because there's something to learn. That's pretty simple.
Or unlearn.
Or yeah, remembering. I like that. Yes, like remembering. You already know this stuff. But so I think you read last time. Is that right? Am I remembering right?
I did.
Okay, so this is really short, so I'm glad I get the short reading, you know. So let's get right into this, to the reading, and this is from A Course in Miracles, Manual for Teachers. It's from chapter 1. And who are God's teachers? We're launching into it. She says, very first thing out, first sentence. The teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be one. His qualifications consist solely in this. Somehow, somewhere, he's made a deliberate choice in which he does not see his interests as apart from someone else's. Once he has done that, his road is established and his direction is sure. A light has entered the darkness. It may be a single light, but that is enough. He's entered in an agreement with God, even if he does not yet believe in him. He has become a bringer of salvation. He has become a teacher of God. They come from all over the world. They come from all religions and from no religion. They are the ones who have answered. The call is universal. It goes on all the time, everywhere. It calls for teachers to speak for it and to redeem the world. Many hear it, but few will answer. Yet it is all a matter of time. Everyone will answer in the end, but the end can be a very long, long way off. It is because of this that the plan of the teachers was established. Their function is to save time. Each one begins as a single light, but with the call at its center, It is a life that cannot be limited. And each one saves 1,000 years of time as the world judges it to call itself time. To the call itself, time has no meaning. There is a course for every teacher of God. The form of the course varies greatly. So do the particular teaching aids involved, but the content of the course never changes. Its central theme is always God's Son is guiltless, and in his innocence is his salvation. It can be taught by actions or thoughts and words or soundlessly in any language or in no language. In any place or time or manner, it does not matter who the teacher was before he heard the call. It has become a savior by his answering. He has seen someone else as himself. He has therefore found his own salvation in the salvation of the world. In his rebirth is the world reborn. This is a manual for a special curriculum, intended for teachers of a special form of the universal course. There are many thousands of other forms, all with the same outcome. They merely save time. Yet it is time alone that winds on wearily, and the world is very tired now. It's old and worn out and without hope. There was never a question of outcome, for what can change the will of God? But time, with its illusions of change and death, wears out the world and all things in it. Yet time has an ending, and it is this that the teachers of God are appointed to bring about, for time is in their hands. Such was their choice, and it was given to them.
Okay, thank you.
I know.
Well, and I can tell you that, of course, I probably say this about everything that I read, but I can tell you that this struck me very differently on this go round.
Oh, really?
Than it has in the past. Yeah. I think the reason for that changed perception of this passage is because there's a change in me in my understanding of, and it's not an intellectual understanding, in this felt sense of oneness as opposed to coming from a point of separation. So that, for example, the first time I picked this up, it was like, God is going to do this thing, and you're going to do this little thing, right? So, but there's just less of that separation for me now, in a felt way. I don't know if any of that made any sense, but
it's lived as it's a body understanding as opposed to like this airy understanding. You're walking around in it, you're breathing in it and smelling it and touching it and feeling it
and witnessing it. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, when I said that, what came in my mind was, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. I mean, it feels like the effects of my way of being and my thought are immediately felt.
Oh yeah. The quicker I can see a mistake or see the consequences of a mistake, or feel the or like discern I make a mistake, or I can see the consequences a lot quicker, or experience the consequences a lot quicker. Right. And it's beginning to get, pretty, pretty, frighteningly, yeah.
So, after I sat with this, and I will go into the individual parts, but after I sat with this a little bit this evening, I went, oh, a teacher of God. And it's not like God said, go out and teach the people. I mean, it's not like that. It's, and we talked about this a little bit, well, probably every time we've met in this program, but we talked about it a little bit last week too. There are only two things I can teach. I can teach oneness or unicity, or I can teach separation. So a teacher of God is the same as saying a teacher of oneness. You know, it's not like I've been ordained by God. No, I'm either teaching this or this, right? So I'm teaching oneness as a teacher of God. So she says, you know, so what are the qualifications? Well, anybody who somehow, somewhere, and then of course I heard Alan Funt, right?
I know.
But somehow, somewhere, he, the teacher, somehow, somewhere, he has made a deliberate choice in which he did not see his interests as apart from someone else's. And again, doesn't that go right back to that theme that we were just talking about, right? It's I'm teaching separation, or I have just become willing to teach oneness. And this is the little willingness that A Course in Miracles talks about. This is the mustard seed, right? Because once that's cracked open, everything flows from there. So no matter how small my recognition that my interests were not apart from someone else's, no matter how small that recognition was, that tiny little bit of willingness opens up the possibility for me to teach God, for me to teach oneness. Yeah, and I said a tiny inroad on the belief in separation. So here, Helen, Jesus, somebody talks about the fact that the call is universal. It goes on all the time, everywhere. And, you know, this is really the call of consciousness to itself to awaken. You know, we talk about the tiny mad idea having happened and unhappened. You know, it all happened all in one fell swoop, right? This is what's happening. Whether people know it or not, as they go about in this world, this is exactly what happened. This call is, you know, it's the homing beacon. It just never stops. And whether you hear it or not, the call is still going out. Consciousness calling unto itself. To come home, to wake up, to realize that it's actually unfettered. And that's the call. So it notes, this passage notes that, again, as it does elsewhere in A Course in Miracles, that this is a highly individualized journey. And each journey will have its own teaching aids. You know, and those teaching aids may be, you know, me stumping my toe or listening to Muji, right? I mean, all of it is used for teaching. And my path is going to look very different than your path or Glenda's or Cindy's or Shauna's. It's all very, very different. And whatever is there can be used to recall the truth of what I am. It does say in this passage that the central theme, of course, is always the same, that God's Son is guiltless, and in his innocence is his salvation. And of course, this belief in guilt is the belief in separation. Either I'm guilty or you are, but one of us is, right? If there's only one thing going on, there can be no guilt. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. You know, how could there be guilt if there's only one thing going on? Who am I guilty to or in front of or for? Or guilt makes no sense within the realm of oneness, within the understanding of oneness. God's Son is guilty. God's Son is guiltless. Nothing has ever gone wrong. No amends need to be made. I need merely be still and know God. Again, that sentence, God's Son is guiltless, and in his innocence is his salvation. And again, this innocence is this this lack of knowledge, this lack of what the world would teach us. This is this thing, and this is this thing, and this is math, and this is history, and this is all knowledge of things. And because things are merely temporary phenomena, that type of knowledge is not knowledge at all. So this idea of innocence is this idea of a lack of knowledge. And in my lack of knowledge, that's where salvation lies, right? Yeah, it's the I don't know mind. Yeah, and then let's see again. We're always teaching the one mind. Therefore, a formal teaching role need not be assumed. It can be. That's what we're doing here tonight, right? But it doesn't have to be, because we're always teaching all the time. And the question is, what do you want to teach? Do you want to teach oneness, or do you want to teach separation? We teach what we believe. We teach with every thought, with every word, with every deed. Teaching goes on constantly. And with that in mind, again, we have to ask, what is this for? What do I want to teach? The passage also says, the section also says that when we see someone else as ourself, salvation is born in us. Again, it's that little crack, the tiny mad, not tiny mad idea, other idea, the tiny bit of willingness, right? It's just, that's the birth. Oh my God, that's the journey home. That's the first step on the journey home. And in our rebirth, the world is reborn. There's only one thing going on here: spreading of the light in the one mind. So whatever light turns on, she talks about here about it begins with a single light. So whatever light gets turned on, it turns into the many. It is the many. Yeah, and again, in our rebirth, the world is reborn, and that reminded me of what we read in Light, the way it was said last week. She talked about the hopeless and closed learning situation, right? But again, this is how it's reborn, right? As long as we're stuck there with this idea of separation, and we're eating separation thoughts, and we're spitting them back out again, that's where we stay stuck. This is the crack in that. This is the crack in that. This is the rebirth, the opportunity for rebirth, the crack where the light gets in. I like that this section points out that A Course in Miracles is not the gospel. It's one path. It's one path. And this will work for some people. And this is a manual for a special curriculum intended for teachers of a special form of the universal course. There's all different ways to get there. This is one of them. And I really like that. And I don't think probably most folks see that. I could be wrong about it. Let's see. And then finally is the fact that the outcome is certain. Oneness doesn't need anybody to wake up. Right? All is well. Are y'all still having fun down there? We'll keep on doing it, right? Oneness just doesn't give a lick, right, about it. So oneness is one. That's why the outcome is certain. There's nothing to be gained. There's nothing to be achieved. There's nothing to be done. The understanding, the achievement of an awakened perspective is about relaxing into the ease of being. That's really the promise. That's what A Course in Miracles says. Peace of mind is the goal that's being taught here. Yeah, so enjoy yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Buckle up. Yep. it says the teachers of God are appointed to bring that about. And of course we would be, wouldn't we? The idea that there's something other than this belief in separateness, right? And ultimately, the end of that journey is the journey into the absolute. So that's all I have.
Thank you for the phrase, the ease of being, and relaxing into the ease of being. I'm gonna use that because that's a really good way of talking about authenticity, talking about authentic expression. It's not something that you like learn how to do. Authentic expression is it's easy, you know, it's an ease of being, you know. I really do believe that. I don't think the beautiful maple trees on my property are trying very hard to be very beautiful for anyone at all. You know, they are. That's what they're doing. That's why there's no better reason to be yourself than to exist as the ease of being, relaxing into the ease of being. I'm going to remember that. In fact, I wrote it down.
Oh, I didn't. Maybe I will now.
Relaxing into the ease of being. Yeah,
Thank you.
Sounds easy, right? It doesn't sound like you've got to like learn another language or like wear a funny hat or anything to get this whole thing. You know,
That's right.
It's already, you already know, or we already know. It's the part of ourselves that we don't really trust. The teacher within that we don't trust. You know, we're trying to I don't know about you, but in the past, I've tried to be my own teacher. I think many of us have tried to be our own teachers. And we've said, whatever's going on out there, we're not figuring out. So it's up to us to figure it out, you know, which is like doubling down on the separation and stuff like that. You know, I'm going to go like sew some bootstraps on these jeans, you know, on you know, all my shoes, you know, in order to make this thing happen. You know, it's very stressful. You know, that is definitely, you know, working at the hopeless enclosed learning center. You know, the hopeless enclosed learning situation. You know, so where do you work? I work at hopeless enclosed learning situation. You know, in which I cannot change my mind. I'm locked into, you know, believing I'm a certain way, and you know, and that's the job description of the hopeless enclosed learning situation. I'll just never forget that. I have a lot of fun with the language of A Course in Miracles, as you well know. So let me tell you how I put this together. She starts out in the first paragraph, as you notice, with a teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be, you know, and then she says, somewhere, some way, you make a decision. So it's like out of nowhere. So where is this somehow, somewhere you're going to make this choice or make a decision? Because she's just like kind of dumps that in there. It's like, what happened before all of this? But what was the previous page? There's a whole lot going on between the introduction and that something in somewhere. What did I miss a chapter? Because suddenly where something dropped from the sky. I don't know what. I changed my mind. What happened? We hit bottom. Is what happens. We finally decide that, like hitting your bloody head against the wall, you're just willing to try whatever it is somebody will tell you, just so you don't have to hit your head on, you know, against the wall. You know, get your heart broken enough times, get your stub your toe enough times, you go move the coffee table, you know, or whatever is going on. Bottom out on making these like awful decisions somehow, somewhere. Whatever the world configured, and that's what the world is for, to get you to that somewhere, somehow, to get you to change your mind, that you know what's going on here, that you can figure it out, we can, but we cannot rely on what we've been taught to rely on. We've been taught to rely on things that are outside of ourselves, and that's what the course is. You teach what you experience. So she begins in that place, says, okay, now that you've hit bottom, let's talk about how you get on the path. And she says, if you've made a decision, the road springs up, right? Yeah. As soon as you make a decision to turn your direction away from the darkness to the light, the whole world, another world springs And each one of us have had that experience. You change your mind and the whole world looks like somebody rewrote it, because you changed your mind.
Yeah, I'm getting a picture of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, right? When she takes that first step on the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, she takes, I use that metaphor actually a lot, the mighty companions as the scarecrow and all those things. So she says, with this new decision, we have a clear sight, and you've made this big, you've hit bottom when you're willing to throw your lot into when you've changed your mind about the way you're going to live. And she says, the very essence of that is that I don't have any separate interests. My goals, my life, and what I'm doing and everything like that aren't in conflict with anybody else's. That, I think, is a brand new idea for people, that somebody in the world and things isn't out to get them. That the obstacles to the awareness of peace is the presence of peace in our lives, peace and love in our life, is not something that God is doing. It's something that we're doing. The obstacles are things that we're creating. So without this clear sight, without this knowledge that my lot is best thrown in with the world in this wholeness idea, finding out what that is, I'm stuck without a clear sight. I'm stuck with getting, and I'm stuck with power over, and I'm stuck with conflict, which is how I hit bottom. And a road is formed, and the direction is sure, and the light enters, because we're in the darkness. And she says, we're the light.
Yeah. Yes.
And the teacher who was there, who said the things that we needed to hear. I know people have sat with me when I was losing my mind and helped me get my mind right. So they were the light for me when I needed them to be the light for me. So those are light bearers. I totally am on board with this idea of a light bearer. And now remember, in the tarot, the light bearer is the hermit card, and he holds out a lantern, so that shows the path ahead. And in the tarot, the hermit is all about inner knowledge and inner wisdom. It's the old man archetype. It's the storage of all knowledge, and so you can, and that is all. See, that's the Hierophant and the hermit in the tarot are really, really, really close to me. So, and this idea of a light bearer is something that I've done. I've had dreams over and over and over again. The conductor with the lantern on the railroad, that's the light bearer. The girl with a candle walking through the forest, it's the light bearer. We over and over and over again. Saint Clara who shone the light out in front of the fort, and God spoke and said, go to the army. You have to leave. So she didn't do anything but hold up the light. All we have to do is see. She starts it with vision. A teacher first sees for themselves their path ahead and holds up a light and says, this way. That's it. That's it. But it comes from making a choice in that first thing. And it becomes, and we get a relationship with God. We enter into an agreement to be a teacher of God. We claim, like a teacher of physics, or a teacher of ballet, or a teacher of whatever, the teacher of God. This is the department that you teach in, right? Only our department is real, the real reality, happiness, truth, joy. I am a teacher of joy. So this agreement to become a teacher, and I'm so glad that belief isn't required, so anybody can get on the path. The entry level is like really, really, really low. We hire directly from the Hopeless and Closed Learning Center. So she calls us the bringer of salvation. And I don't know how much theology classes that you've taken, but the bringer of salvation is the title for Jesus and for Muhammad. those people are called the bring. Both of those people in there are called the 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 bringer of salvation, as in the victim of the world that you see. So that's, she's saying, yeah, you, me, Jesus, Muhammad, that's us. Those are the teachers. And this is, so this, when she says you're the bringer of salvation, what she's saying is there's a master teacher in you. There's a master teacher in each one of us. So it's moving from darkness to, it's moving from the darkness of ignorance, of getting, and of power struggles, to walk the road that we're given, to walk the road that we're shown. I don't see your road. You see your road. I am holding up the light for where I am. You're holding up the light for where you are. And together we all move forward. I need your light and you need my light. I can't walk your path and you can't walk mine, but I can hold the light up. You know, that's what a teacher is. We're doing this together. Second paragraph is just as fun. She goes, and the call is universal. It's like a radio station, like WACIM, blast it out all the time, you know, or those, I don't know about you. I grew up in the Midwest in the South, so I hear like tornado sirens. Do you guys get like tornado sirens? Like that's how when I hear like the call of God, the Holy Spirit in my head goes, it's kind of like a tornado siren. Because because for me, this is the way she talks to me. She's trying to get me to understand how much I resist the call to do, or how much effort I put in at not being myself, how much effort I unconsciously put in to not listening to the call.
Can I speak to that for just a second? Yeah, I just wanted to say that that's really what came to me in regards to this fact that we've made an agreement with God. It's like I'm no longer resisting everything, right? I'm laying that resistance down, and in that way, it's an agreement with God.
Yeah, and so the sirens kind of go down, the emergency and the stress and everything just kind of goes, you know, for me, that's how I experience it. So so it's blasting 24/7, and she says, you know, this call, it's going out in every longitude and every latitude, in every system, in every culture, and in the Quran, in chapter 23, verse 24, Muhammad, peace be upon him, dictating from Gabriel, who is squeezing him, and as he's writing this down. So you can picture a man in a cave and an angel squeezing him as he's writing out this course, writing out the Quran in another channeled book. Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, Allah has sent prophets to every nation on earth. You know, so it's the only other book that I have found that acknowledges all other paths. It's just for your community, for your thing, I have sent somebody that can speak directly to your needs and your things like that. And the Quran does that. And Muhammad very clearly does that. I really like the Quran, by the way, too. Maybe I'll teach that one day. But let's see. So this is a call. Oh yeah, well, everyone hears it and few answers. We talked about that. So everybody can hear this siren. Everybody can hear the tornado, and not everybody's getting out of the way, you know. And the tornado is our ignorance, right? So this is a call to redeem the world. That's a lot of responsibility. Did you hear that? She goes, the call to redeem the world. Did you go, me? I'm in charge of redeeming the world, you know? In another, see, you see all the names of Jesus that she's giving you? She's calling you the Redeemer. She's calling you the bringer of salvation. She's calling you the light bearer. She's already called you 3 of the names that are reserved for Jesus Christ. She's already done that. So this is a call to freedom, and she's asking us to take responsibility. It's freedom from our ignorance and our actions and our beliefs. And if you remember from the first section, it's to remove doubt. Just to just to be there and like say, you got this, we can do this together. You hold your light and I'll hold mine, and we'll get, and we'll do this together. I'll be your teacher for a while and you be my teacher for. It's beautiful. It's this primary, is again this removing of ignorance. It's the removal of this self-doubt. And my favorite part of this is the call saves time, because eventually we will all become God's teachers. Just like the introduction says, this is a required course. Only the time that you take it is voluntary. You do not get to decide the curriculum. You can only decide the order in which you would like to take it. The course is, I could go, it's like, this is so absolutely kind and ethical. This is a required course. And she combines light and sound here, because you hear the call and you are the light. So you've got light and sound happening in here. God is providing the sound. We are the light. The light is the teacher and has the call. And the call is what we are to do in the world at its center. She says the light has the call, and what we do, the light, the teacher has the call. The light has
Take your time.
The light has its call, and I've got too many parentheticals to remember to do this. The light has the call at its center.
Yes.
So where do we act from? We're given all the energy. We have all the energy, the thing to do, but what to do is God's.
Yeah.
We're the one that has we're the light. Place the light in us. We're the light, and we're always going to be light. We're shining and teaching, whether or not we're aware of it or conscious or doing any of this. The call comes from God. The call is the action. The call is the thing we say yes to. The call is the agreement. This is, okay, I'll do that. I want to do that. And it'll be something that you have endless energy for, or that I have endless energy for. The call is something that is compelling, It is, and she says, but don't worry, the light is unlimited. That's us. You have everything that you need. You think you can't do this. You think you don't have the power or the smarts, or that you aren't born in the right longitude or it's not true. The light is unlimited. We have what we need as teachers of God to do what is ours to do. She says, and the next, I love this. She goes, there are many manuals, y'all. There are many forums. There are many teaching aids. There are many languages. There are many places. There are many times, and there are many manners. And those all in the second paragraph or the third paragraph. She says that. Oh, she says all of those things. There are many forms. There are many teaching aids. There are many languages. There are many places. There are many times, and there are many manners. But it's an unchangeable message. The Son of God is guiltless, and his innocence is his salvation. It reminded me of that phrase, that quote from Isaiah, where he goes, in heaven, when God comes back to the earth, what happens? The lion lays, the wolf lays down with the lamb, and the lion lays down with the calf, and the jaguar lays down with the goat. So those are prey-predator relationships. Those are power over relationships. One of those things eats the other one. They run from each other.
I really love you making that point. Those are predator-prey relationships. Yeah, perfect.
So who changed? So if the lion is laying down with the calf, who changed?
Pretty sure it was the lion. Or the calf.
We're predators.
Yeah.
We are predators. So we're in charge of changing. She doesn't say, you know what you need to do? You need to be more like a calf. She doesn't. You need to be a goat. No. You need to be, no. She doesn't say any of that. Isaiah says, you don't need a predator-prey relationship to have your needs met. How many of us
Cindy,
operate that? What's that?
Cindy, by the way, wrote, maybe the lamb has to relinquish fear.
Oh yeah, well, oh absolutely, absolutely. But she can find that. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is a relationship. You don't, you trust in all of that stuff, and and all. I don't mean to make light of of any of that, but I think the biggest change is really about recognizing ourselves as the predator in that metaphor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's brilliant. Actually, thank you.
Thank you. Well, so this is the thing. It's that she follows this up with the knowing of our innocence. Because I guarantee you, even as the whatever prey relationship is going on, we have worms that are eating. We have compost pile here, and I like animals and I like meat and all this stuff. So it's not like I don't know the order of things, and I need to eat things in order to create more flesh and continue. That's not the problem. I'm innocent. That isn't done out of a sense. See, I don't know how to. This is one of those things that one of the newer kind of things I'm trying to grapple with this a newer kind of understanding of or way of talking about it really. That God works. God is what works, and nature works without whether or not we are paying attention to it or not.
That's right.
The nature of an animal, my cat or Shauna's horse, doesn't need me to keep reschooling it on how to be a horse or a cat or anything. In fact, I need to learn and be aware and look and listen of what's going on with their expression of who they are. And when a cat kills a mice, they aren't thinking, oh shoot, I'm
guilty.
Gotta do 9 Hail Marys and whatever because I killed something. It doesn't work. And I think God's really saying that too. Know what is yours to do. Know what is appropriate and when and where and the actions that you take. So it's just, I think it's rather beautiful. So it's when we answer this call, our rebirth is the thing that rebirths the world. And the last paragraph is we're very special here. Of course, miracle. Because she used that word. She used that word like 4 times in the last paragraph. I know. You're special. The course is special. Everything you're doing is. See, the way I describe it is, as far as a teacher is, I'm a teacher and I'm we each of us have been ground down to the peaks and valleys of a key. You've heard me say this before. We're a key that has been opened one door, and that door is what we are to bring to the world. That's the teaching. That's our teaching. What's behind that door is what we have to teach the world, who we are, and how that is. And there's an innocence there. You can make a mistake because you're innocent. You can get it wrong or learn again or fall or say you're sorry or take responsibility because you're innocent. See, guilt doesn't have much more use other than I've stepped out of integrity for me. The only use that guilt has in my life is allow me to say, have I stepped out of integrity? I'm doing something against what I believe. My mouth is not saying what my body is doing, or my body is not doing what my mouth is saying, that kind of thing. And the idea, she says, this old and worn out world that time winds on, it's weary and tired and without hope, and the illusions of change and death that are wearing us out. That's the hopeless and closed burning situation to me. That's like our minds. That's the lower mind, the world that is so weary. I know I have experienced the weary world, but I don't today live in a weary world, weary, tired world of death and stuff. I just really don't live there on a normal basis. And she's saying, the thing that this and all manuals do. This is like, you want to compare, is this a really manual of God? This is how you tell. Does it save time? So then ask yourself, time that she says doesn't exist all the time, why is she telling us? Why is that an asset? Why is that a selling point for doing anything at all? It saves you time.
I think that's a great question.
Time from what? Time to do what? What are you saving time from? Because we're human beings and we are suffering. We do get it wrong. Until we knew better, until we hit bottom, we were suffering. I was suffering. Until you don't know, you are suffering.
Yeah.
Ignorance is terrible. Ignorance is hell, right? So to me, when she says, I can save you time, he goes, our addiction to suffering will end. You know, I can save you time. This idea of dues paying and you suffer enough to get it right, or you can hurt enough to get it right, is something that a lot of us have swallowed. I mean, literally. Somebody died for your sins, you ingrate. This bloody man up on a cross. Can't you have some, come on. That's how it's taught. That's not the message it is to be, I think it's an amazing story. I think it's an amazing teaching. I don't want to make light of that. But the idea that killing and throwing somebody under the bus and all of that is so we can be, have something, that all the suffering has to take place in order for this good to take place, is a paradigm in the Western way of thinking that is really, really destructive. Because it's called means testing.
Yeah.
In our world. But anyway, I'll make a conclusion, and then someday we're going to decide to start working with what is and cast our lot with the beloved community. There is much to do and much to learn. That decision opens up a path before us, illuminated by our better nature, a shining light for us to follow. We're holding up a light as well. We make a decision to accept responsibility for our place in the mind of God. But many will try to talk us out of our truest nature, but we've hit bottom on the ways of the world, finally, and see what is ours to do. Our eyes are open to the suffering all around us. We realized that we don't have to suffer, and that becomes the fuel to teach what is ours to teach in the oddly specific way that we were made. We take actions to end the material suffering of the world. We know that the sooner we awaken to participating with what is, the sooner we end all suffering. A Course in Miracles isn't better or worse than any other manual. It's here for us to use as long as we need it. There are other methods, and we're free to use them too. We are the teachers we're looking for, and this is our manual.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Yeah. Lovely teaching. Thank you.
That's my TED Talk.
Well done.
I know.
We are, looks like we're right out of time. And coming up next is Laura Bedford with her new program. So I'm going to invite everybody here, please stick around for that program. And I'm sure Sean is going to make that same announcement. But Glenn, if you will play our outro, that'd be awesome. Love all y'all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me be here with you.
You've been listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.